Music to the noise, yeah, the mess we make. Machine Pun Kelly get caught in the fake. Facts and logic with a twist of jest. Strip it down to truth, yeah, forget the rest. Humor blows the lies right out of the park. Look beyond the shadows, dissect the dark. Sparks of laughter fire up the night, bringing clarity where they blur the fight. Cut through the chaos, yeah, the tangle rise. Machine Pun Kelly with a set of clear eyes. Truths and jokes gonna rock this show. Step into light where the real facts flow.
Hi there, Machine Pun Kelly. Just welcome. Happy Monday, if that's possible, which it's not. So just least miserable Monday possible to you all. Thanks for joining the show. And as is always the case in Trump America, it has been another insane weekend with lots of insane things happening, driven by the insane party doing insane things. And so I almost wasn't going to do a show today. My long COVID is really kicking me in the butt, and I had trouble even getting out of bed. But, I just got to be consistent with this thing. So anyway, first thing I want to talk about is a couple of shows on Tuesday and Wednesday. There is a guy named Ben Canhan. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'll make sure tomorrow. And you may know who he is. He posts quite a bit. But he's an autistic guy. He's an autistic, independent adult who's discussed quite a bit about, what it is to be autistic. And I mentioned him a couple of times last week where he said that autism doesn't mean his brain works wrong. It just means his brain works differently. And I've been doing some research into autism, and actually there's some argument you could say that in some ways people with autism, their brain works better, and that's why genetically it's survived as a trait. And oh, come on, buddy. Oh, sorry. For those who have not met Huggy Bear, this is Huggy Bear. He was trying to jump on and almost fell off the chair. He is my new cat. We got him a few weeks ago to replace Care Bear. And I miss Care Bear, but I love Huggy Bear too because he's a good kitty. Anyway, he's going to go to his resting spot. Ben is an adult with autism. He lives in Scotland. He's from England, and he follows American politics quite closely. And I just wanted to talk to him about what it's like to have autism, what kind of biases he encounters, and what kind of prejudices he encounters. And just, one of the things about this show that I've been trying to do from the beginning is, talk to people in these different marginalized groups and understand where their point of view is, understand their perspective. Because I think, people without autism and, people who aren't trans and people who aren't gay and people who aren't colored and people who aren't, whatever, there is a perspective that they have a life of encounters with people that we do not have. And I think that we need to understand people before we judge people. And one of the things I've noticed from the right is that there is very little attempt at actually trying to understand people. And RFK Jr. has tried to make autism into this debilitating thing. And most people with autism can function. And there are a tiny percentage of them that, you know, can't. And those are people that need assistance. And there's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing, one of the things that really bothers me about his whole approach to autism is looking for a cause. And then the cause always seems to end up being something the mom did. He blames autism on the mom, which is very, very, par for the course from the right wing. And don't tell me RFK Jr. is a liberal. He's not. All right. So Ben will be on the show tomorrow. That'll be at noon Central Time. And then on Wednesday, I'm really looking forward to this show. There's been a lot of talk from the right about how everybody on the left is a terrorist, Antifa. And so I have a friend, Awkward, who is self-identified, Antifa. And I asked him if he could help me get a panel of guests that are all self-identified Antifa. There's anarchists and Antifa and as far left as you want to go. And none of them are terrorists. And so we're going to talk to them. We're going to have a panel about where they're coming from, what their perspective is. What do they feel about being called a terrorist and labeled a terrorist just because they disagree with fascism? And we'll see. In one sense, anybody that's not a fascist and is against fascism would be considered Antifa. But there are some people that are not just ideologically Antifa, but actively Antifa and actively oppose fascism. And by that, I mean, when fascists go and try to protest, counter protest, legitimate protests, and turn them violent, there are people that will go and intercede on behalf of the people that are protesting and against the people that the fascists that are trying to silence them. And so the job the cops should be doing is not trying to control the protesters, but trying to control the fascist counter-protesters who are actually trying to prevent the protesters from having their right to protest. And so they literally interject their physical bodies in between counter-protests and protesters. And they're not, like thugs. There are people with jobs, people with courage. So we're going to have a panel of guests that are going to be, like so-called Antifa, to talk about their whole feeling about being called a terrorist just because they disagree with Trump. And I think that'll be a really good show. I'm trying to set up a YouTube store. I've never done this before, but I want to sell I Am Not a Terrorist t-shirts because I think most people that watch this show are left-leaning. There are right-leaning people and MAGAs that comment on the videos without watching them, but the people that watch my show and actually follow my channel are mostly left-leaning, and I think a lot of you would agree that you're not a terrorist. So I would like to, I think it'd be neat to just have a t-shirt floating around that says, I am not a terrorist. And, on that line, there's a No Kings parade. I think it's coming up on October 28th, or a No Kings protest, another national No Kings protest. And I just encourage everyone who can to participate in that, because the more people that participate, the harder of a time he's going to have just saying everyone is a terrorist. He can't lock up 15 million people in one day. So show up. And if you can't show up, support those who show up. Like some people, I understand not everybody's healthy. Show up with some food. Show up with some water. Just stand there and hand out water, or give it to somebody else. Just show up and give somebody water and say, hey, can you just hand this out to protesters as they're walking by? Because we need all hands on deck and all feet on the sidewalk and on the streets, because we are America, no matter what MAGA thinks they are. We are the real America. And I am tired of them usurping my flag, usurping my nation, usurping my pride. No, I'm the real American. You are the fascists. And America is not a fascist country. America is a democracy, no matter what you try to do to it. And if that makes me far left, then that makes me far left. But that doesn't make me a terrorist. I'm not violent. None of the people that are going to be on my show are violent. I don't support violence, but MAGA does. When Donald Trump is sending troops into American cities without any invitation to put down made up violence, then that is terrorism. He's literally using the power of his office to terrorize American citizens. January 6th was a terrorist attack, and he was the leader of that terrorist attack. Let's start using words to mean what they mean and stop letting them not only usurp our country, usurp our pride, usurp our flag, usurp our freedoms, and usurping our English language. Terrorist means something, and so does fascist. And he is both, and I am neither. All right. So watch on Saturday, or watch on Wednesday, noon Central. So with that, I don't know how long I'm going to go today. I'll just see how long it takes. But I'm going to try and do what I can. So next up, the spending bill showdown. All right. There is a spending bill showdown going on. And the MAGA Republicans, which is like redundant at this point, all Republicans are MAGA, at least all elected Republicans are MAGA Republicans. None of them have the dignity or pride or decency to stand up for what's right. They all cower under Trump. They are the most cowardly political party in the history of this country. More worried about their jobs than they are about doing their jobs. So here's what the crux is. They're saying that the Democrats are against a clean spending bill, and the Democrats are refusing to pass this so-called clean spending deal because the clean spending deal is not clean. It's filthy, it's dirty, and it needs to be washed. What the so-called clean spending deal does is allow the Republican Party to continue doing a lot of dirty things. And one of the dirtiest things is stripping tens of millions of Americans from their health care. So what the Democrats want to do is, one, they want to on this pretext. It was passed on this pretext that somehow all this money is going to be saved by cutting off, like all these 30-year-old white men or whatever, these 30-year-old men that are hanging out in their mom's basement, playing video games and collecting Medicare or Medicaid, which is like a dumb thing. Like, if you're a healthy person, you're not using Medicaid because you don't need health care. Like that's just dumb. It's dumb. You don't get like a Medicaid check in the mail that you can go out and spend however you want and buy new video games with it. Medicaid isn't paying for PlayStation subscriptions or whatever. It's just a dumb talking point made by dumb people. And more importantly, echoed by even dumber people. So there are about 12 million people that are going to lose their Medicaid, which, by the way, won't go into effect until after the midterms. If the Republicans really believed what they say they believe, why are they waiting until after the midterms to engage these Medicaid cuts? Because you know what? People in West Virginia, people in rural Tennessee, people in rural Ohio, people in rural North Carolina, people in rural Missouri, all red states. A lot of people that live there are poor white people that are on Medicaid. And when they start getting stripped off of their Medicaid, the Republicans won't want to own it. Mark my words, if the Democrats take back the House in 2026, they're going to blame it on the Democrats. It won't make sense that it's not true and it's not real, because none of the Republican talking points are ever true or real. We never had open borders. Children aren't getting mutilated. The Democrats aren't encouraging people to get abortions. All the MAGA talking points are dishonest, because if they were honest, there would be no MAGA. So that's what the Republicans say. They want a free spending bill, or a clean spending bill. The Democrats say, one, let's extend the ACA. Like right now, the funding for ACA is set to expire this year. And there are about 22 million Americans that receive federal assistance through the ACA. That's another 22 million Americans that are going to lose their health care, in addition to the 12 million that are on Medicaid. And these are citizens. Undocumented people are not on Medicaid and they don't get ACA. So don't let them lie to you and say that this is about illegals, which is an ugly, ugly, ugly word made by a fascist, racist person. They use that word to dehumanize people of color. But anyway, the Democrats are fighting to keep health care for 34 million Americans. And the Republicans, in their so-called, clean spending bill, want to strip away health care for 34 million of Americans. That's the real debate, at least half of it. The other half of it is the Republicans have now taken this stance that the budget that the Congress passes is like merely a suggestion that Trump can change however he wants. So he's spending millions of dollars more on things nobody wants, while he's slashing funds on things people actually want, on the things that Congress actually passed. So, for instance, why are we spending all this money on 24-karat gold to line the White House Oval Office that nobody wants, nobody asked for? We don't want that. There's a reason that when they built the White House, it doesn't look like a royal palace. And that's because we did not want to have a royal government. We didn't want to have a monarchy. And what Donald Trump is trying to do is he's trying to turn the White House into a royal palace, his royal palace. We have money to spend on that. We have $500 million to upgrade his own personal gifted private airplane that no one other than him will ever fly on as long as he is alive. So he'll have his little $1 trillion airplane that he gets to fly around for, and he didn't pay a dime for. We've got money to spend on that. We've already spent $500 million sending the American military against its own citizens. You have people literally paying taxes so that they're for exercising their own constitutional rights. But somehow it's the Democrats. Somehow it's the Democrats who are, trying to stall the country. And so on the one hand, the choice is either just let Donald Trump decide what we actually spend money on and, have 34 million people lose their health care insurance. Or if the Democrats don't fold and allow that, then Trump is threatening to fire tens of thousands of federal workers permanently because of the shutdown. And I think of this as like this kind of classic scenario where somebody breaks into your house, right? And they point a gun and they say, okay, choose between your spouse and child. I'll kill one of them and then I'll let the other one go and I'll let you go. And if you don't choose, I'm going to kill both of them. And, they want to make it out like that it's your choice. You have to choose who's going to die and who's going to live. When actually, they're the responsible party because they're forcing you to make that choice. That's what the Republicans are doing, and that's what Donald Trump is doing. They are holding America hostage, and they're threatening to kill either 34 million people's health care or tens of thousands of people their jobs. And they're telling the Democrats they have to choose which draconian measure is taken. And the only way to play that game is to not play it and just refuse to make a choice. And then it's apparent. If that person kills all three of you, that person is responsible. The Republicans are 100% responsible for what happens. Don't let them lie to you. Don't let them gaslight you into saying that the Democrats somehow just refuse to accept a clean spending bill, because there's nothing clean about the spending bill. It's the filthiest spending bill that there's ever been. The Democrats never played crap like that. And so there's a huge difference. Okay, so what is the next one? All right. Now let's go to the Michigan church shooting. All right. For this one, all right. Let's bring up an image here for you guys, just so there's no confusion. Where'd he go? I thought I had it. Oh, there we are. Okay. This is the shooter in Michigan. And I don't know how well you can see it, but he's wearing a Trump shirt. He's not trans. He's not a liberal. He's not Antifa. He is a MAGA voter. He is a Trump supporter. And he went into a county that is mostly people of color, and he shot up a church full of people. Now, of course, MAGA and Trump and the right-wing fascists are saying that this is because a bunch of, all the anti-fascist rhetoric that is coming from the left somehow. I don't think that's what happened here. All right. And now I want to point to this guy. This guy is the shooter in North Carolina who once sued the LGBTQ plus community for trying to have him killed. You will notice that he is also not trans, not a person of color, not a liberal, not Antifa, not left wing. But they would have you believe that the violence is all coming from the left. Honestly, they have not shown ties of a single one of these shooters that they talk about to the left. They have not proven any of these. And the closest they can come is Tyler Robinson, because he had a trans girlfriend. But that ties into the Nick Fuentes thing, where like he's so straight, he's gay or whatever. And so his gayness doesn't count. His gayness is actually just being super, super straight. And which, by the way, I don't think if a straight man marries a trans woman, that makes him gay. I think that makes him hetero. But, we're not dealing with intellectual honesty whenever the right is talking. We're just dealing with people that hate people. It's like, has it ever occurred to anybody that maybe all the violent rhetoric is coming from the right? You ever listen to Stephen Miller talk? Stephen Miller sounds like he himself is a future mass shooter. He is the most unhinged right-wing lunatic voice that has ever been heard in American politics. He is a bona fide nut job fascist. He would make Goebbels throw it back. Yes, Stephen Miller is a fascist. My saying that does not mean I hate him. It means I know what a fascist is, and he is a fascist. He is the most fascist that you can be without being more fascist. Like he fills up the fascist cup. There's just no possible way to be more fascist than Stephen Miller. There is not a single thing about Stephen Miller that is not fascist. Have I made myself clear? Stephen Miller is actually a fascist. So if I say Stephen Miller is a fascist, that does not mean I hate Stephen Miller. It means I hate fascism. And that doesn't make me a terrorist. That doesn't mean I'm going to, go out and kill people or blow something up. It just means I don't like fascism. But you have this president and this entire office that is literally out there saying that the Democrats are all terrorists now. Oh, they're an extremist group, and extremist groups. And then like they do this kind of once connected, or, like one connection away thing. Like they'll say, oh, all this violence is because of all the violent rhetoric from the left and all the extreme groups like Antifa, which isn't a group, and the people who support them. And then they call the Democrats one of those groups. So they're saying all these shootings are happening because of Democrats. How is that not violent rhetoric? How is that not going to cause more violence? So when you see these right-wing MAGAs going out and killing liberals or pretending to be liberal by writing ice on the bullets or whatever, what's going to stop them from doing that? They can just say, oh, look, I'm going to pretend to be a liberal and I'm going to go out and kill immigrants. And then everybody will blame the liberals for, my genius right-wing MAGA stroke. Over 75% of violence over the last 35 years, political violence over 75% of political violence over the last 35 years have come from the right, and the rest does not come from the left. Most of the left comes from Islamic terrorism, which is also right-wing religious terrorism. Like when they say right wing, they mean Christian right wing, not Muslim right wing. And they always try to make it, oh, like the Muslims are Marxists or something, as though the Muslim, extremists aren't right wing. They're just as right wing as the Christian right wing. They want to make it illegal to be gay. They want to make it illegal to be trans. The only thing difference between ISIS and MAGA is the religion. So stop saying that all the violence is coming from the left. All the violence is coming from the right. And even when you've got a guy actually with MAGA shirts on, people that live in his neighborhood have told me, you drive by his house, he's got one of those houses where it's all decked out in Trump gear and American flags and, just as MAGA extremist as you want to get. He goes out and he kills a bunch of black people, and somehow he's a left-wing extremist. And it's just another one of those deep, they act like the Democrats. Every time it's a Republican that does the shooting, or a Trump supporter that does the shooting, they make it sound like this is like this deep frame job that was done by the Democrats going back, like decades or whatever. Like, stop that. Can you think critically with your brains for 1 minute, MAGA, and just understand that the most violent rhetoric in the country is coming from Donald Trump? I actually asked Grok about this, and I didn't even answer the question correctly because I was only thinking like contemporary politicians. And so I asked Grok, is it accurate to say that Donald Trump has the most violent rhetoric of any American politician, any elected American politician? And I didn't specify currently elected. So Grok not only included currently elected people, Grok included all of American history. And Grok determined, not me, that Donald Trump's rhetoric was the most violent of any elected politician in American history by using studies that include like how much violent rhetoric comes in his speech. And it's like, can't remember what it was, but like out of every 100 words he uses, like 5 of them are violent in his speeches. And there are 56 unique violent attacks that are directly attributed to Trump's violent rhetoric. So why is nobody in the media pointing this out? Why is nobody in the media talking about Trump's violent rhetoric? Trump literally said, punch that guy and I'll pay for your bills. He told cops to bash people's head into the cars. Trump said, for every drop of blood they spill, meaning, Hamas will spill a gallon of theirs, meaning Gaza. Trump literally encouraged Israel to commit genocide and just wipe all of them off out of the Gaza Strip. Trump is sending the American military against our own citizens so that we have to pay for the military to persecute us. Our military. It's not his military. It's our military. It's the United States military, not the president of the United States military. And yes, the president of the United States is commander-in-chief, but he's president of the United States, not president of MAGA. That means I am still a member of the United States. I still served in the military. I was still born here. I'm still a citizen here. I pay my taxes. I vote. That does not mean that he just can ignore Democrats like he's doing with the shutdown bill and not even having a discussion with them. All right. The most violent rhetoric and the biggest terrorist in America right now is Donald Trump. And it's time we start calling him out for what he is. He's not just a criminal. He's not just a felon. He's not just a rapist. He's all of those things. But he's a terrorist. And he is terrorizing American cities right now to ingratiate himself to racist, fear-mongering, bigoted MAGA buttheads, which I have better language to use, but since this is monetized, I won't be using it. Please stop telling me that I'm a terrorist. Donald Trump perpetrated the biggest terrorist attack on American history on January 6, 2021. And yes, I include 2001 in that because Osama bin Laden wasn't the president. America united after that, and maybe too much under the president. And so, many Americans endorsed things that should have never been endorsed, like the war in Iraq and the war in Afghanistan, neither of which had anything to do with 9/11, but which, what's his name? Can't think of his name, but one of Bush's minions called it an opportunity. And that's a word I think about a lot with MAGAs and Republicans. They see tragedy as an opportunity. And that's what they're doing with Tyler Robinson and with this other shooting on the ICE facility. They're not seeing that as a tragedy. They're seeing it as an opportunity. And they're Reichstag fire. They're going to Reichstag fire on this. And they're using that as an excuse to label everyone who disagrees with them a terrorist. And then they're like not just calling them that, they're literally writing executive orders to call everybody who is Antifa a terrorist, and people who support them, by the way. So, and he mentions George Soros. So if you gave money to MoveOn.org, you supported terrorism, according to Donald Trump and according to the executive order. George Soros never backed any terrorist accounts, but somehow, we're all terrorists if we ever gave money to Move On, or if we ever gave money to Act Blue. They're calling the Democrats an extremist organization. How long before they just make it illegal to be a Democrat and start going out and arresting registered Democrats for supporting terrorism? Meanwhile, it's right-wing MAGAs that are shooting up the church. It was Desmond Hawley that shot up a school, and he's a white supremacist. The North Carolina shooting was a right-wing guy that thought the LGBTQ community was out to kill him. But somehow it's all the violence is coming from the left. No, the violence is not coming from the left. But I'll tell you this, the violent rhetoric is coming from the right too. And it's mostly coming from Trump and his administration and Stephen Miller and Wackadoodle Barbie, whatever her name is, KKK Barbie, Caroline Levitt. So stop telling me about the violent rhetoric from the left. Please engage reality. Open borders. They say, oh, they're for open borders. No, we are not for open borders. The border was never open under Biden. I mean, you ever been to the border? There's something there. There's really something there. You know what? There's these like little booths. And you have to, when you come into the country, you have to go through that booth and go through something called border security. And they check your documents. And then they let you go through if you're a citizen or if you don't have, or if you have a visa or whatever. And if you don't, then you get apprehended and you get returned, or you're just told to turn around and go back. There were never open borders. That's just a thing that Trump said enough times that enough idiots started believing it. The open borders is a myth. It's a lie. It never happened. They say, oh, they want to mutilate children. No, they don't want to mutilate children. But we do acknowledge that transgender people exist and that it's not a choice. Transgender people exist. They have existed long before America existed. They've existed in like you go through virtually every society in history, and there have been transgender people. Some were celebrated. And I don't know if, that should be accurate either, but some were became like religious icons or whatever. But being transgender is not a choice. It's a genetic thing that happens where your chromosomes in your brain don't align with the chromosomes in your genitals. And I mean, this is scientific fact. Their brains and their genitals disagree with each other. And their brains are more real to their subjective experience than their genitals are. You can't just change your brain chemistry, but you can change your body chemistry. And so that's what they do. And that's what Democrats are saying is that, you know what? Parents of transgender people should have the right to be able to talk to their doctors and make medically responsible decisions for their children so that their children can have happier lives. And they'll talk about, oh, well, some transgender people change their mind. And it's like 1 or 2% of them change their mind. And they talk about, and it's like 0.5% of the American population. And so what, and most procedures, like surgical procedures, don't even occur until after they're adults anyway. My brother has a transgender son. Fortunately, he lives in Minnesota. And not just because, they're not anti-transgender or anything, but they really consternate about this. They really want to, they really want to do what is right by their child because they love their child. And they're worried about what kind of world is being built around their child's existence. And they're also worried about what is the best medical thing they can do for their child. And these decisions should not be left to the government. These decisions should be left to the parents and their doctors. And what the Republicans are saying is, no, we know better because we have distorted the Bible to mean something it doesn't mean. And therefore, our religious rights trump their parental rights. Parental rights mean everything if it's reading the wrong book. But parental rights mean nothing if it's getting the right health care. So please stop telling me about the left-wing extremists, which, by the way, brings me into the next topic I wanted to talk about, which is the invasion of Portland. And this one is really, I was so pissed off this weekend because he used the word war. He is declaring war on America. I prefer American presidents who don't propose war on American citizens. And it's not like there is something particularly egregious going on in Portland right now, or in Illinois where they sent in the Guard. These are nothing that local police can't handle, that if the state governor felt like it was necessary, couldn't just call up the National Guard for themselves. But him federalizing the National Guard just to use it as a prop to strip away American citizens their right to protest under the guise that they are terrorists, which is a whole fake talking point that you made an executive order to make. This is just stripping away America's freedom. This is why I say Donald Trump is a terrorist. He is literally terrorizing American citizens into not using their constitutional rights. How is that not terrorism? Please explain to me, how is Donald Trump not an actual literal terrorist using literal terror to affect policy in America? If that's not what he's doing, how is it different? Donald Trump is American ISIS. The only difference is he's not chopping people's heads off on webcams yet. We're building concentration camps. You have 1,800 people that were disappeared from, Alligator Alcatraz. How long before American citizens are disappeared under the guise that they're Antifa? How long? This is fascism. People are always like, well, he hasn't killed 6 million Jews yet. Yet. Just want to point out, Hitler was elected in, I think it was 32. The final solution didn't start going in effect until like 42. It didn't happen overnight. So when you say, that he's not doing this, he's on schedule to. Right now, he's following the Hitler playbook. And we are in chapter Reichstag fire right now. Reichstag fire, one person set a fire on the German Capitol building, and all of the communists were blamed for it. And then everybody that was liberal was called a communist. The poem that everybody always quotes starts, first they came for the communists. Didn't say first they came for the Jews. It says first they came for the communists. Then they came for the socialists. And the other part that I think we need to echo and need to rise up and shout is, and where was I? So I ask you, where are you now? Let's not get to the end of the poem. When he starts saying he's going for the communists, when he starts saying he's going for the socialists, when he starts saying he's going for the far left, at that time, even if you are not far left, even if you are not a socialist, even if you are not a communist, you need to stand up and fight for their rights, because you're next. And if it waits until it comes to you, it will be too late. And that was the point of the poem. The poem was not just about who they came for. The poem is, and where was I? Or, and I wasn't there, or whatever. Where are you right now? Are you resisting? Are you standing up? Are you fighting? Where will you be on October 28th? Will you be protesting? Or will you be supporting the protests? Or will you just be saying, it's not my problem yet? Because it will become your problem. And if it doesn't become your problem directly, it will become your problem indirectly. When your food is no longer available in the store because there are no longer migrants to pick it. When the hospitals start closing in your closest hospital closes because there is no longer funding to pay for it. And somebody you love, or you have a heart attack and you're on a 50-minute ambulance drive to the nearest hospital that hasn't shut down yet. It's because you didn't fight in advance. Everybody always says, don't obey in advance. I will say, fight in advance. Don't just not obey. Don't just not be complicit. Stand up and fight. Don't just fight for your rights. Fight for everyone's rights. Fight for the rights of people of color. Fight for the rights of women. Fight for the rights of trans people. Fight for the rights of people you don't agree with. Because we either all have rights or none of us have rights. This is a binary choice, and you need to make one. You need to make one while you still can. And I'm not trying to be hyperbolic here. I'm really not. But when you know history and you know what the playbook is, and you know that Trump is following that playbook page for page, you know you need to stand up. So I encourage everyone, fight, fight, fight. That's all I have for today. Oh, wait, we have a comment. Hey, Joe, thanks for joining. I was wondering where you were. I always appreciate you, friend. Anyway, I don't mean to sound hyperbolic, and I don't think I'm being hyperbolic. Rights are literally being stripped away. They're being stripped away for transgender people. They're about to be stripped away from gay people. They've been stripped away from men and women to choose their own health care and whether or not they can get rid of a baby that was conceived through rape, and whether or not they can even not allow their rapist to have visitation rights to their child. These are the things we need to fight for. And these are the things we need the Democratic Party and Chuck Schumer and the entire Democratic Party to stand up and fight for. This is not the time for sound bites. This is the time for sound fights. So let's fight back. Let's stand up and say, this is my America, and you did not own it because you won a plurality of the votes. They can't arrest 70 million Americans or 80 million Americans. And that's the only way we can make them listen, is if all of us unite and fight back. Anyway. Sorry for getting emotional, but I'm not sorry, because I truly feel this. And when they say, "Oh, you mad, bro?" Yes, I am mad. I'm very mad, and you should be mad too. And if you're not mad, don't tell me how much you love America, because you don't love America. You love racism and you love fascism. I love America. All right. That's it. I think I'm gonna exhaust myself. I didn't mean to get that worked up, but I am worked up. It really bothers me. So anybody that stuck around, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the Twitter, social media, blue skyverse. Talk to you later.